Hello. You know, someday there probably will be a Popcast without a pop gun. Like, if I were to go on vacation during a low ink week, I might legit ask somebody to do the Popcast for me to recap low ink, rather than just wait a week to do it. Now I already have some people in mind for who I would have come in to be a guest host or something like that. I'm just going to turn over the Popcast to the entirety of Wiggly Phantoms and just let them run the show. It would be the best production quality episode of the Popcast ever, for sure. Did I see the what? Swear to God, if this is a Bofa joke that's coming in. Corn's Bandai. Thank you, Tofu. Yeah. Yeah, I already told Jub to, I told Jub, like, you need to apply to be on IPL. Like, we need talent like that. But Jub's pretty busy. They're doing, I believe you'll see some Jub work this, upcoming weekend with LSL, so. But yeah, I was watching the Negus podcast from Friday that Marissa was on, and Dr. Prodigy and the dude, and one of the things they talked about to help grow the scene, we need more content. And I'm just sitting here like, whoa, wait a minute. Jub is producing high quality content and nobody outside of low level is paying attention to it. You want content, there you go. Speaking of content, when are we getting the brush on the well, I guess BLT is now going to be playing in low ink, which is good because you guys seem pretty good. Also sad because I wanted you to commentate in low ink. Now you're going to be busy playing in it. You guys could just hurry up and win it this week, or win it this month or next month, so that we can go ahead and start transitioning you guys over to be staff. You know, if Destiny Troops didn't win low ink in December, or not December, what am I talking about? In March of last year, I don't think there would be a Popcast right now. I'd be too busy trying to finally win low ink. I definitely wouldn't be commentating. I've commentated grand finals of every low ink since April of last year. That wouldn't happen if we failed to win that semifinal game in Game 5, where we had to come all the way from behind on a tower control hotel with 1 point remaining for the other team to KO us. There might not be a Popcast at all, so low ink, we need you guys to start winning low ink so that we can start poaching you and using your talents in other ways. Which makes me think, like, when I finally retire from competitive, hand the keys over the tofu for Destiny Troops. Like, there's so much that I want to do that I just don't, because I enjoy playing the game competitively, and I'd rather focus time on that. But it's like, man, there's so many gigs that get offered to me that I turn down just because I don't want to spread myself thin. But when I do retire, it's like, man, I'm just gonna start commentating everything. I mean, it's kind of what happened with either win it or get banned. Like we picked up some Geek Squids, picked up Bowen when they got banned. Bowen's been a great asset for us. That sounds like a sarcastic prize for low ink, actually. Winner gets to join staff, except it's not really sarcastic. Hello, Silver. Always a pleasure to have you in chat. Did I see something where you're taking a break from competitive? You're in art class. Draw a pop gun, like an actual little pop gun. If you need a reference, there's the moose behind me. Let's draw that right there. It's a good looking moose right there. Hello, fairy. You know, I've seen a lot more hydras recently. I don't know if that's your doing or not. I will say this. There was a period of time where I saw a lot of vanilla hydras, and I was like, no, guys. This is not... This is not the way. This is not the answer that you splash down, and then what? You're just stuck there with no rev, a chicken that you can throw at people, and like no way to defend yourself. Stop with the beehive nonsense. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're finding spots to throw the Ultra Stamp through walls on basically every single map in the game, helping my wife determine what we should have for dinner in a Twitter poll, telling people to stop giving attention to hackers, which only gives the hacker more attention, and was the only way I found out that there was a hacker, is because people were telling us not to pay attention to it. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. You know, that's roughly the same intro I've been having for about 67 episodes now. I guess it could be worse. I could always just say something like, oh, I'm only doing this to help promote my channel and give it more views, and doing it selfishly just for me. I guess I could start doing that, or I could just say that I don't appreciate your guys' views. I feel like, insulting you guys is a little bit better than just flat out saying, I'm doing this for me only. Well, no, I'm doing it for your guys' benefit. But what can I say? There are worse ways to go about promoting yourself, as I'm starting to find out. News of some tournaments that are going to be going on this weekend and next weekend. First off, this upcoming weekend, Little Squid League 14 is going to be this Saturday, the 14th. Don't know how many teams have signed up for it as of now, but hopefully they can get up to the past 40 or so teams that they had the last time. Even if they don't reach that kind of goal, it seems like Little Squid League is trending in the right direction as far as teams that are signing up for it. So it's good to have it back on a monthly basis now and starting to get some attention that it rightfully deserves. On Sunday, the Launch Point graduation tournament is going to be taking place. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe registration for this has already closed so that they can start putting teams together. It seems like what they typically do is close registration a week out so they have time to put the teams together and try to make them as balanced as possible, or at least give the illusion that it's going to be balanced so that when it's not, you guys have something to complain about. That is going to be Sunday, If you haven't already signed up for it, make sure or if you can't sign up for it, or for whatever reason, make sure you watch it. You got nothing else to do on Sunday. Jesus will be fine. Trust me. It'll be fine. You can watch that on the Lord's Day. Not this upcoming weekend, obviously, but the weekend after that. Wow, it's already less than 2 weeks away from the next Low Ink. These things kind of sneak up on us here. So Low Ink, I guess 13 days from now? Less than that, like 12 maybe, 7 and 5. Next weekend, the 21st and the 22nd. Make sure you sign up for that early instead of waiting to the last minute. I feel like I say this all the time. It happens, but guys, the later you wait to sign up, the more pissy we are going to be with you if you have anything kind of sus about you. Oh, you played for this one team and did really well in this other tournament, and you're going to be like, well, we never actually played on that team. I was just there as a sub. And it's like, all right, but you realize we have like 2 hours to determine this or kick you out, and several hundred other teams are signing up at the same time. So why do you expect us to play detective on this weird thing you have here when we need to get you verified to move on to the next team? Don't be that. If you have anything weird, if you sign up earlier, we're more likely going to approve it than if you sign up late. So do yourself a favor, not us, because you won't do it for us, but for yourself. Do yourself a favor. Sign up for Low Ink today and let our verification team look into you today. You do not want us DMing you Friday right before registration closes, because we are usually not super happy when we DM'd you at that particular time and day. Also, if you have Div 4 in your bio, take that out before we look into you, because that's kind of weird. Today, we're going to be recapping Fluti, and the return of the weekend recap as well. We haven't done that in a couple of weeks because A, there has been a ton of tournaments going on per week, or B, I've been on vacation. So we are going to be recapping a lot of tournaments that happened this past weekend, including a more in-depth look at the Fluti tournament that took place yesterday. But first, as I've said a gazillion times now, I was on vacation last week. One of the people I vacationed with at a cabin in an undisclosed location was K-Bot himself. As I was coming out of my room, I was told, "Wake up, babe. A new document just dropped." I was like, what are you talking about? So we pull it up on our phones. On Twitter, there's this thing from Revenge, a player called Revenge with IGN Revenge, who I guess we can say formerly of Barracuda now, since they disbanded after Fluti yesterday, released a document called the Squid Community Project. A lot of things were kind of listed in this document. More so, there's a couple of things I do want to talk about in here, and several things I don't. But it's still good. Whenever somebody releases like hey, here's some thoughts I have, and I'm going to release like a 10-page document just dumping all my thoughts out. I think these things are good. Echo kind of did it, I guess, last month, and we had Echo on the Popcast to kind of share, expand upon their thoughts as to what was going on in their document, talking about the oversaturation of tournaments. In hindsight, I probably should have reached out to Revenge, but the time that I thought about doing it, it was already too late. For when I'm usually like sitting down and writing these is late in the night for North America, and I believe Revenge is in Europe, so I was like, I'm not going to DM this person at like 4 a.m. their time to see if they want to come on and talk about something I haven't fully looked into all the way through yet. But this is why I'm kind of glad that the Popcast isn't something that is done on a moment's notice, and more so something that happens consistently on Mondays, because it gives me a couple of days, most of the time a couple of days, to kind of sit back and reflect on what it is I want to talk about rather than just giving like an instant reaction, which is something I thought of when me and K-Bot were sitting there just kind of looking over it at first glance. There were some things I was thinking about, and I would have said initially as reading this, that as I'm taking more time to sit down and think about it, that it's like, okay, well, maybe there's a better perspective to look at something like this that would be something better to talk about rather than just like a knee-jerk reaction. Most of the time when it comes to something like Popcast, it is more well thought out. My last episode was more not so much well thought out. I mean, I had like specific bullet topics I wanted to discuss, but it was just more so just kind of putting things out from my head that I didn't fully get down on paper, so it was more confuddled, I guess, but still an episode worth doing. I'm kind of getting off topic here, but regardless, I have looked more into what this document was saying, the Squid Community Project. And I'm sure you guys have all read it already, since it was required reading for today's episode of the Popcast. There will be a quiz on it after. But if you haven't seen it, if you need a cheat sheet, it is in chat right now. A rather lengthy document that we're not going to go over all of it, like I said, but there are some specific things I want to highlight. But if you don't want to read it because, well, you're just a jerk, here, let me give you the TLDR. So basically it starts off by pointing out some issues in the Splatoon community infrastructure that we currently have. Some of the main issues here being the lack of support from Nintendo, that we don't have any sponsors, tournaments need bigger prizes, and more viewers for their Twitch streams in order to make this community a little bit better. Now, those are all good topics, and we're going to break down each one of those topics one at a time, and I'm going to suggest an actual solution that might help fix some of these issues, or at least get in the direction of fixing all of these issues. Sorry, Dan. But the solution that was offered in here, I'll at least mention it, but I think pretty much every pundit and analyst that has talked about this to some extent has pretty much shot it down as a not good idea, which is fine. Offering ideas is fine, even if they're not, even if it turns out that they're not the best solution. At least offering it is fine and good. We should encourage more people to offer ideas like what Revenge is doing here. But basically the idea was that they were suggesting was creating like an organization that people could donate money to, and there were incentives for like each level of donation that you brought in, and then that money would be dispersed, like a council would come together and decide where that specific money should be dispersed. There are tons of issues with that. First off, one of the things they mentioned was having like 13 event staff be available, active for tournaments. That is, behind the scenes here with Low Ink. Low Ink is the biggest monthly tournament we have in this community, which is hilarious because half the community is banned from it. But we are happy to have 7 people on for a Saturday or a Sunday. Sometimes more than that, sometimes less. But 13, wow, if we could get 13 active TOs that are actually competent in a VC at the same time, that is that's almost impossible. I don't speak for other tournament organizations. Maybe a little Squid League has a whole baseball team that they can bring out for everything, but for 13 event staff is wishful thinking. It's something we just don't typically see on a consistent basis. But just like the idea of a group of people deciding where money is going to go raises a ton of questions. First off, who's on this council? What checks and balances are in place, or like controls are in place to make sure that nobody's like pocketing any of this money into their own pocket? And make sure like everyone's trustworthy. Like who is going to determine what the paper trail is going to be from where the money leaves the donor's pocket to where it goes and to where it seeps out from there, like how it leaves the organization? And also, how are you going to determine what organization gets the money? Low Ink is the biggest tournament. Like I said, are they going to get a piece of the pie, or is it just going to be the like Aquatic Cup or just open tournaments in general? Like, how would you determine fairly how that money gets dispersed? So many issues with that. People call it a Splatoon bank. I don't know if the bank is an appropriate term. It's more like a Splatoon nonprofit, like a friends group, honestly, to some extent. That's I'm not going to do a deep dive into why that's not a good idea, but instead I want to talk about more the issues specifically that were raised in this document here. Splatoon government, I don't know. Well, no, because that's more of a there's no taxes here. This is all like community. It's more of a non-profit than like an actual government kind of thing. But some of the issues pointed out here. First off, Nintendo not supporting the scene. A couple things I want to point out from that. Has Nintendo been helping us to the extent that they could? No. Is that relationship between the competitive scene and Nintendo starting to improve? Absolutely. And I'm not just, obviously we are going to be talking about the ladder tournaments as an example of how things have been helping and support in good ways and bad. Good ways being that we just got 4 tournaments that were fantastic. All the issues that arose from those tournaments, none of them were Nintendo's fault. Most of them had just been us kind of joking around with the Splatfest T stuff to the to us cheating and us kind of debating the rule set. The Battlefy issue was Battlefy, not Nintendo's fault at all. So like Nintendo's side of these ladder tournaments was great. I mean, obviously the issue was United States was the only country that got involved in this. And that probably had something to do with the prizes that they were offering this time around. Just moving them to a different country would be an issue. But you can at least see that Nintendo is trying something to improve the relationship. And every tournament that they do gets better. Maybe this one was a bit of a step back from the sense that there was no top cut after the ladder stage. Just ladder was the only... Whoever won the ladder just won the tournament. But still, you can see Nintendo is at least improving, or they're at least listening to some of the feedback we're giving them, considering what there was a single elimination tournament before to where it is right now. But even if you just disregard the ladder tournaments, remember that high school league? Remember when Nintendo came out and said, hey, we're partnering with this organization to present a high school Splatoon league? And we were like, what in the world? First off, we haven't heard from you in months. And now you're coming back after the Squid House thing saying you're going to start making this high school league. Second of all, why high school specifically? I don't know. But regardless, this Nintendo is at least supporting another organization running a tournament or a league on their behalf. So that's a step in the right direction. So to sit here and say Nintendo's not supporting the scene, if you're in Europe, you're not getting supported at all up to this point. We understand that. But it's not like Nintendo has completely abandoned the idea of making Splatoon a competitive esport. The route they're going to make it happen is weird, but they're at least trying to support in their own unique kind of way. So, and I would expect that to only get better over time. So the other issue that was kind of arisen was no sponsors. There's no sponsors in the competitive scene. In that actively trying to get sponsors is too hard of a thing to accomplish because of the lack of attention that tournaments get and lack of viewership and things like that. Yes and no. I mean, it's been done before. We do have some teams that are currently sponsored. Carnage Gaming being one of them. To some extent, the university teams, ITAP and UCSD are, you could probably consider that to be sponsored. I mean, they are getting some financial compensation, not like something they can go to McDonald's and buy with, but something they can use to get them to help promote their own teams, and I think slightly some of them might be helping them get to Riptide to do rans to kind of promote their brand and things like that. We've had some other teams get sponsored in the past that have lost it. I believe Carnage Gaming is sponsored like 3 different teams going on now. Ghost Gaming, more famously with Team Olive, with Dude and Sindao. And of course, you can't forget about Thimbo IHOP being sponsored by IHOP. One of the most bizarre sponsorships that we have in this competitive scene. But hey, there it is. Now, is that the same level of sponsorship that other esports are getting? No, absolutely not. But I do want to point out something else. Remember SAC like 3 seasons ago, I want to say, like season 1, when they had like a ton of organizations sponsoring them. And I didn't understand what that was, and I don't understand at the time how that benefited the actual players or what became of that. But remember, SAC was sponsoring people, or was getting sponsorships. GameStop, 24-Hour Fitness, G Fuel Energy, who are just getting free plugs here on the Popcast. Hey, you could send some of that sponsorship money my way if you feel like it. And that was SAC. That was a skill cap tournament that was getting sponsorships there, like actual legit organizations sponsoring them. I don't know how that happened. I think that was more of a Nathan thing, and Nathan is long gone from the community, at least as far as I've seen. But still, it was really bizarre that we were able to get that a tournament organization was able to get some sponsorship. So it is possible. It's definitely possible for tournaments to be sponsored. I would assume it's just more of a thing you need to know, like the right person or the right guy, have the right kind of connection to get somebody to do it. But it is possible. It's not something that should be completely ruled out. I don't think it's something sustainable, at least at this point of competitive Splatoon, because we just don't see that kind of level of sponsorship. But SAC proved that it is at least possible to pull off, and something that shouldn't be totally ruled out here. The other points being that tournaments don't have big enough prizes, so we need bigger prizes that lead to more viewers. The question is, though, if a tournament has a bigger prize pool, is that directly going to lead to A, better tournament, and B, something that more people are going to view? There probably are numbers out there, hard numbers of like, well, this tournament had this amount of views and this tournament didn't have that kind of views that you could look at. I don't have that kind of data readily, but I would just assume, based off of what I've seen, that bigger tournament prizes might not directly correlate to more viewerships or a more exciting tournament all around for a Twitch viewer to see. Let me kind of explain on that. There is in the North American scene, or actually you could say in the entire West, there is a huge competitive balance issue going on right now. Who do you got? You got Starburst, and you got FT Win, or like half of FT Win, or like whatever they're doing right now. That's it. I mean, that's it. Nobody can touch them. Nobody. And what's funny is whenever there is a tournament that has a prize pool, like a significant prize pool, these guys will sign up and play in it as either as FT Win or Starburst, or like they'll play together as like Backpink, I believe is the other team. Climb is not on the same level as Starburst and FT Win. Not even close. I'm sorry. It's that Climb is a really good team. You might be able to consider them like a top 5 team, but the top 2 teams are so miles above everybody else. It's not even funny. You could say some people could even say Radiance, but Radiance played Starburst in Div X, and if it wasn't for a tree at the reef, Starburst 5-0's Radiance. They ended up beating them 5-1. But it's like Radiance is probably the best EU team, but nobody can touch Starburst and FT Win. And when these guys play in these tournaments, they just flat out win. You look at Kind of an example. I said they'll play in any tournament that has a prize pool. There was that one tournament last month. It was like I don't know who it was, but it was like a birthday party tournament, right? Like it's just somebody. Oh, this person's having their birthdays in honor of this. We're gonna have a tournament with a $200 prize pool. I think only like 10 or 15 teams signed up for it. But one of those teams was Backpink, and they dominated, and they took the money. So whenever there is a bigger prize pool, yeah, you're going to draw in those top-level teams. But guess what? You're going to get a grand finals that's going to be either Starburst or FT-Win or Backpink against like a Div +1 pick or a +1 pickup that is going to end in a 4-0 sweep for that team. And it's just basically like, okay, well, the question is going to be, your grand finals isn't going to be exciting because the question is, okay, it's not can they take a game off these guys? It's are they going to be KO'd every single time? It's not even close. So bigger prize pool, yeah, you're going to get Starburst or FT-Win, but it's not going to be a grand finals that we're going to be talking about. A fair example to kind of, well, maybe I don't know if it's fair, but an example we can kind of use is the Smash Summit that happened a couple of weeks ago of Mango playing Zane. Now, it's not fair to say because that was arguably the greatest set of Smash ever played. A bracket reset that went the full 10 games and came down to a final stock with both players at 0%. But that's the thing is that those two players, even though they're at the top of their game of the entire scene, they can at least play against each other and be competitive. And then remember the document, the Smash document talking about the 5 players who nobody could beat them, but they could all beat each other. And it was exciting to see them play each other. Who are you excited to see Starburst play? Nobody. Until we get a grand finals of Starburst versus FT-Win, we're not going to see anything exciting or awesome at all that we're going to actively talk about other than, wow, Starburst just stomped these guys yet again and took the money from it. Now, there is always, you could use the Triple G tournament as an example of where we let in one of the Japan teams came over and played. And then it became kind of the opposite story. It was like, all right, can FT-Win avoid being swept by these guys? So that was more interesting to see when we bring in somebody not from the West to come in and kind of humble our entire scene. But yeah, there is a huge competitive balance right here. And some of the more exciting grand finals that we have come from tournaments like SOS or Testing Grounds or Low Inc, where it's not the highest level of players and there is no prize pool. You're just playing for pride. But what you're getting is more, the top level teams aren't really signing up for that because there is no prize, but there are a grand finals that is at least somewhat competitive and exciting to watch. Low Inc has a $40 prize pool. $40. And we make teams play 2 days to determine who gets it. But the grand finals of that will traditionally get 200 to 300 viewers live. You will all talk about it on Twitter, whether there is an incident or not. Everybody pays attention to the grand finals of Low Inc. Or if they don't catch it live, they'll at least go back and watch the VOD on Twitch. Low Inc gets a ton of views, and there is no prize pool essentially to go along with it, and no top level teams because everybody above Div 5 is banned. So there's kind of an example of how you don't need huge prizes to draw in a lot of attention to your tournaments. As long as it's something consistent. Low Inc is consistent. You know what you're going to get when you watch a Low Inc stream. You know who the commentators are. You know to some extent you know who the teams are because of the history. Not just because you listen to the Popcast, which I know you do, but because these teams play in Low Inc for a long time, these players play in Low Inc for a long time, and you build up a little bit of history there. We got some great rivalries going on in Low Inc. It's been so consistent for such a long time that people are tuning in to watch it, and they want to see things like that. People loved it when Persistence played in grand finals. They didn't force a bracket reset, but they were a team a lot of people rooted for. So there's kind of an example, and and again, to kind of further the point of where it doesn't have to be the top teams, Look at Tassel. Tassel is... I remember watching the All-Star tournament in Tassel. The production quality of that stream they had was mind-blowing. It was amazing. It was like watching an esport on ESPN. That might be like overhyping it to some extent, but you get what I'm saying. It was a very high production quality stream. And Tassel, yes, Tassel has some of those Starburst and FT Win and Radiance type teams, but you will tune in to see some of the weaker teams, even though they're really strong in their own right, but they're not as good as the top level team. But you'll tune in to see a matchup that will probably go like 8 or 9 games in a best of 9 set, because the production's good, the commentary is good, and the action is going to be competitive. So it doesn't always have to be the top teams that are going to draw in attention. It's like the NFL. The Detroit Lions and the Miami Dolphins might play, and you're like, okay, neither one of these teams is going to make the Super Bowl, but if it's on, you're still going to watch it because the product itself is going to be entertaining, even if it's not the best of the best. So yeah, the bigger prizes directly leading to better views. Somebody could probably pull up the actual data and prove if that fact is true or not. But just going off of what I've seen, this is probably more opinion than fact. I would think that might not be the actual case. The best way to get more views, in my opinion, is being consistent, having a better stream and a better commentating crew. Now, here's where we kind of get tripped up here. I've constantly said we need more commentators. We need more better commentators, because we have a lot of people that are commentating and are getting better the more they do it. But we as a community are really lacking commentary talent. And we're not doing a good job of developing the talent that we already have. I kind of mentioned in the pre-show, Brush, now on BLT, is, from what I've seen, really fantastic commentator. And it's like, okay, I would like to see this guy commentate more, because it's going to be even better the more they get, the more reps that they get in with it. But there's not a whole lot of Brushes that are out there. The people that are available, we're not doing a good job of developing them. They don't have a lot of like strict natural talent, so we got to kind of like develop it. And I don't feel like we're doing a good job of developing it. So you get a lot of streams with grand finals with commentators that you might not know and might not know when to be hyped and excited about it, versus like when to not be hype and to be chill. We see a lot of times grand finals, and look right here, FT Win just gets the win and they've won the tournament. And it's like, oh, that's when you're supposed to be that's the climax of the whole tournament. And we're not doing a good enough job of getting them ready. And, I'm not going to call out other organizations, but there are, the quality of some of these streams doesn't really match the quality of other streams. Little Squid League is a great example. They're going to be going on this upcoming weekend. The quality of their stream, which is run by Jub of Wiggly Phantoms, is going to be fantastic. Really fantastic. But it might not get as much views as a tournament like... I guess I would be calling out somebody if I were to continue this kind of conversation, but there would be other tournaments that will get more views that are just kind of like overlays that look like something I would make. And it doesn't, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. The quality doesn't always match. The quality of the stream doesn't always match the quality of the commentators, which doesn't always match the quality of the performance that's being put on stream. Now, this is something I was thinking about, and I think there might be a little bit of truth to this. One of the more major issues that we have in this community is not the lack of consistent tournaments, which we do have. It's more so a lack of any kind of organizations. What we have is a bunch of standalone tournaments that are just kind of running themselves, but they're not benefiting other tournaments or anything else for that matter, other than just themselves. It's like the community is kind of segregated in a sense, not just by skill level, but more so by the different tournaments that we have. let's look. What kind of orgs do we have right now? Obviously, IPL. That's what we got. In-game TV hasn't really done much recently. Yeah, they're doing the LAN, but sources close to me and just reading the tea leaves, you could kind of get the sense that in-game TV might be kind of backing out of the Splatoon scene and just focusing on the Smash and Mario Kart and whatever else that they do. Dapple Productions seems to be up and coming. They got the Triton Cup. I believe they got the Girls Duo Cup from the in-game TV. Moved over from there, and they got some I think they run some other smaller tournaments as well. I know they do like a speed ladder every now and then, but Dapple Productions, I guess you could say, is an org, but they're a little bit smaller compared to IPL, at least right now from where they are. And Deep Sea Solutions, I guess. But the problem with Deep Sea Solutions is they're doing one tournament a month, whether it be Megalodon or Minnow. So it's just more like a monthly tournament. They just kind of switch what they do specifically. And that's it. Like those are our orgs. There's no Ink TV. Game Set Match, I guess, does like a thing every now and then. But that's the only thing doing something consistently in this scene is IPL. Now, here's the problem with that. What makes IPL great and helps IPL is that the tournaments benefit each other because they're all on one Twitch stream. You'll come in, you'll watch a Low Ink stream, and you'll like Low Ink, and you'll follow IPL's Twitch stream. And guess what? On Wednesday, you might not know this, but there is a tournament that happens on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden you get a notification, hey, IPL is streaming this SOS tournament. And you're like, what is that? And then you tune in, and all of a sudden you see a whole new tournament. And then Testing Grounds comes out on Friday, and then King of the Castle. So IPL could be streaming 3 to 5, depending on a Low Ink weekend, you could get 5 different streams, 5 different days of streams of Splatoon, competitive Splatoon content coming out on one Twitch channel. Little Squid League happening. Their Twitch stream will do one event a month. Now, during Fluti, they were streaming like specific team matches, but they weren't doing their tournament. But now they're just doing one stream a month, and it's going to be a great stream. Like I said, it's going to be high quality, and it's going to get a lot of views. But all the people that are following that and all the people that are watching that, that stream channel is going to be dormant for an entire month. So like Aquatic Cup won't directly benefit from Little Squid League streaming. Minnow Cup won't directly benefit from Paddling Pool streaming. Like they're not helping each other because they're all on separate channels. And it's interesting to think, of course you want like your own Twitch channel for your event, but when you just do one event a month, like you can't get partnered off of that. Of course you can't get affiliate off of that. Of course you can't get partnered off of that. IPL, we're finding even with IPL, all the streams we're doing, getting partnered, the application process for that is still kind of difficult. Even though we're getting the views, and the amount of streams that are required for that. So it's difficult to grow an entire scene when everybody's doing their own Twitch channels that are not benefiting and helping other organizations at all. Not just Little Squid League, but Aquatic Cup, Squid Junction. Does Paddling Pool even have a stream? I don't really know. But I mean, even to look at SAC and Midway, like 2 organizations you think would be beneficial for them both to be on one SAC Midway channel, have their own separate channels, and SAC will fire theirs up during the season and will maybe do 5 streams a month, 3 tournaments, and then like a couple of podcasts. But once SAC's done, that channel just sits there. All those people that are following and would view an SAC event may or may not know that there's a Midway tournament that they would be interested in seeing because it's a completely different channel and in a completely different event. So that SAC Twitch channel just sits there dormant, doing nothing and not really helping anything. So it makes me think, with all of these events that are going on that are just getting views and follows that aren't helping each other, if there was some way to where we could get not one overarching channel, but more organizations that would pile up all these they would take like these individual tournaments and just soak them up and make them into one giant organization that could rival IPL. And then all of a sudden we got tournaments that are helping each other grow and helping the entire scene grow, as opposed to, well, here's just who's watching Aquatic Cup and only follows Aquatic Cup, or only knows that Aquatic Cup is something that actually exists. I feel like that's I know this isn't going to actually happen. Like, there isn't going to be like let's call it a television for ink themed esports, ink TV, if you will. I know something like that's not going to happen, because of egos. And, I'm sitting here. Look, obviously this is awkward to talk about this topic because I am a head TO for IPL, but I am not the head of IPL. I just run Low Inc. I don't mess with the other tournaments like SOS, King of the Castle. I don't mess with any of that stuff, because I don't want people messing with my tournament. But I see how the success of King of the Castle directly benefits Low Inc. Because we're all under the same umbrella there. But if other organizations, these standalone tournaments, could realize, what if we partnered with this other tournament, and then we buy out that other tournament and bring them into our circle as well, and we just make one giant organization with one giant channel, and then all of a sudden there's not just one tournament that's going dormant for an entire month. No, there's one channel that is streaming competitive Splatoon constantly 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. And then all the people that follow that org are going to watch that one specific channel. But because of egos, people not wanting other people to mess with their product, not wanting to change, people not wanting to change what their specific event is about, is something that would keep something like this happening. But if we're throwing out solutions out there, and you're trying to say, how can we help build the infrastructure? The answer is not a bank. Okay, it's not a bank that we're all donating to. The answer, in my opinion, is more organizations, and it doesn't have to be something new. People in chat are saying the USL. The problem with USL is that all of that was brand new. They were trying to grow something brand new from the bottom up. IPL was essentially Low Inc. Low Inc. built IPL, and then we expanded off of Low Inc. to make IPL, and then added other tournaments over time. USL was just here we are, we're Fluti 2.0, and we got all these different tournaments going on different days, and it was too much too soon. And I honestly don't even know if USL is still a thing. I haven't been paying attention to it, but it's not. There's other tournaments that already exist, that already have their own personal fan bases, already have their own followers, to where if they just partnered with other tournaments that already have things that already exist, then you got an actual org that could start day one, and everybody knows what they're getting out of that organization. Instead, everything right now is too segregated, and if it stays that way, honestly, IPL is just going to dominate the scene. And as someone who works for IPL, that's going to be awesome, but I don't think that's something that's going to benefit the entire scene as a whole. I think we need more of these standalone tournaments coming together and making an organization. Something like that is going to benefit us more, way more than a bank. The last thing I want to point out here, another issue that was kind of brought up closing this segment out, that is going to be happening, that is going to help the scene, is Splatoon 3. Yes, when Splatoon 3 comes out, this whole community hits the reset button. We get a whole fresh new level of casuals coming in that we are going to do a better job of transitioning into competitive, instead of just going on Reddit and bragging about how we can squid bag people that can't defend themselves, because that makes you feel like you're a strong player or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, when Splatoon 3 comes out, things are going to be a lot better. But we can't just sit around and wait for that to happen. We need infrastructure in place to where we need to build something now, so that when Splatoon 3 comes in, we're ready to roll, instead of waiting for Splatoon 3 to come out and then hope that builds an infrastructure in place. And this is my thoughts on the Squid Community Project. That would be a pretty good name for a Twitch channel that hosts like 5 or 6 different tournaments, by the way. Tubnook, aren't you on SAC? Wouldn't you have like an answer to that? Unless you don't. Also, hello, Z. Oh, too much talky. Let's recap the weekend.
Where you want to avoid scoring if you're not going to be able to. Oh! That's
And
the KO.
game, set, match. Pickup takes not only the match, but also the set, and thus the tournament.
That was iMad Gamer and Skep on the call for IPL's SOS 37 that saw Pickup dominates over to win the entire tournament right there. That's a I understand that kind of commentated sense of like you're just talking and then it's all of a sudden something happens on stream that is significant and the only thing you can think of to say is ah. That was the tournament ending right there. Pickup getting the 4-0 sweep over. The players on Pickup was Lucas, Burbadon, and I believe Mika. It seems like Lucas' team is winning every single SOS that they sign up for, getting pretty close to it. And is always in the group that Destiny Troops is in. I hate playing Lucas. Was made up of Legend, Madness, Rui, and Pony, so a strong team in their own right there. The Thieves taking third place. Hammerhead went to Polarity, I believe is that team's name. Mako Bracket was dominated by Junior Junction. Junior Junction being, if you can take a guess at what weapons the players in Junior Junction use, it is all junior weapons, coincidentally. I believe Destiny Troops played against these guys last month. They do not just use the armor one, they will bust out the Kensa Junior, which I think a lot of people are starting to see as a pretty fun weapon. And I think what they showed a custom Junior at a couple of points as well, but Junior Junction dominated Mako Bracket. Memeing their way to a Mako title there. Lantern Bracket looked like an Alpha Bracket Sunday in Low Ink here. We got Maki Monsoon, Outcast Ninjas, and Kappa getting the Lantern Bracket win over Ink Illuminatis. One of the more competitive Lantern Brackets we've seen in a long time in SOS there. Nice win by Kappa, showing why they are one of the favorites to win Low Ink next month. Beating a team like Ink Illuminatis is pretty significant. That is a strong team. Made third place in Low Ink last month. Moving right along. What's the next tournament we have here?
They're close enough, and there's more than enough time for them to wait. Armor gets popped, and they have bubbles. They're just kiting Colin's bubbles rather than going in themselves. But they get taken out. Lord does get a pick, but he's nowhere near zone now. He jumps off zone, but the rest of his team able to follow up, able to cap, and wow, a dominant 4-0 for Norozera.
You know, that was Matt and Dura on the call for King of the Castle 10 that saw Norozera getting a bracket reset and then sweeping bosses 4-0. That was you know, I rarely understand what Matt is talking about because Matt is talking so fast. Basically, like if Eminem were to commentate Splatoon, but Matt makes it so exciting that it doesn't really matter. Like I can just kind of visualize what's going on here versus what's actually happening, and it just makes you more excited. Like, yeah, popping bubbles, they're going armored, they're getting the zone, let's go. Also exciting stuff there. King of the Castle number 10. This is the biggest King of the Castle since the opening games. The opening games had 40 teams sign up for it. This one had 33, so this is one of the bigger King of the Castles that we've seen in a long time. Actually, I said Norozera got the bracket reset. That is true, but Bosses was the team that ended up winning this tournament. So Norozera bracket reset 4-0, but Bosses held on to win this tournament 4-0 in the bracket reset. The team made up of Bosses was Bran, Jared, Connor, and Keo. hey, wasn't I just talking about something like this? In the how one team is just dominating others whenever there's a tournament with a prize pool. The Norzera team was Terra Zeraz and Nori, I believe. Double elimination tournament, which is different from their group, the single elimination format that they've had before. On a Saturday instead of Friday. Splat zones only. And there was a prize of 60 euros. What is the conversion rate of euros to American dollars? Does the euro got more value right now? I wonder. Regardless, King of the Castle 10 double elimination tournament saw a lot of good action there. Great commentary, and a lot of teams signed up for it and came out. So good. I talked about this is an IPL organization. 33 teams for a Europe-only tournament. Well, a Europe time zone tournament. Good to see. It benefits all of us. Unless you're not a part of IPL. Moving right along, the next tournament we have here, the Girls Duo Cup. Now, I called out the backlash that Girls Duo Cup consistently gets anytime it's announced on the last episode of the Popcast on Thursday. When I did that, I didn't realize that the Girls Duo Cup was this upcoming weekend. So that's a little bit of ignorance on my part as well. But here you go. Girls Duo Cup. Some of the team names that played for this, I guess I should kind of explain. So you sign up with another girl or non-binary, and you get paired with another group. Or I think you can probably just sign up as a team as yourself, but you don't need a full team. The idea of this is to meet other girls, women, competitive players in the scene. To just kind of meet them and let them know, hey, there are other people that exist in the scene that are not just boys. So, since it is a pickup tournament, there are team names here that are a little silly. Some I'm going to give credit to the Pond Skippers, Starfall. Starfall is an actual team name. Is Starfall an all-girl team? Like, did they just sign up as Starfall? I'm curious. Or if that's just the pickup name. What the Dog Doing? I feel like that there's been another team called What the Dog Doing. What is this meme that I'm not getting here? Hyper Fresh Princess Squad, Chimkin Nuggets, and my personal favorite, LOL, this guy be calling me cute. Okay, the team that won this tournament was Mouse, who beat Oi, O-I-E, I believe is how that is pronounced, 3-2 in the grand finals of this tournament, which I believe was a Swiss into Top Cut. That was run on Challenge. So the players for Mouse are Leafy or Leafy, Q, Taco, and Muti, the team that won this tournament, and the team on Oi, NASA, Isabel, Atomic, and Sky Uwu. And a smaller note here, What the Dog Doing ended up taking third place in the girls Duo Cup. So there you go. Once again, another tournament. I believe this used to be under In-Game TV, but Alice has brought it over to Dapple Productions. So there you go. An example. Tournaments can kind of get bought out by other organizations and moved to something else. This helps Dapple Productions more than it does for In-Game TV. So it's good to see. And that was the weekend recap, sponsored by Fluti, aka Slow Ludi. This is going to be a new tournament organization, new tournament coming out from Ludi roughly soon. The concept behind Fluti is that it's going to be basically a regular Ludi season, except the captain for the other team just never responds to you. So basically, Ludi, if you want to think about it like that. Speaking of Fluti, or Fast Ludi, that happened yesterday. We're going to talk about it because I think this is a really awesome tournament. One, I think we should hope to see more of in the competitive scene here. So a lot of people are asking, even to this today, after the tournament is over, what is Fluti? So um, let me explain for those who are curious what Fluti is. It's basically a fast version of Fluti or a 1-day version of Fluti. So you sign up for it, you get put into a div, and then you play your group. Instead of playing your group across one match per week, you play it all right there. You just play your group. I believe they were best of fives. 6 teams per group, best of 5. So it's still the same size of groups. And each div was still 24 teams. And then right after that, you just play your top cut. So basically, Fluti condensed to one day instead of the entire month. Or 2 months, I guess you should say. Cool concept. Works out great. The cool thing about this is that you guys can't complain about your div or be excited about your div because it's just seeding. Like Fluti, it's just seeding for one tournament only. But since the tournament lasts 1 day and not 2 months, you're not married to that div for the entirety of 2 months and then the additional 10 months after that. So all of it happens right then and there. So once the tournament's over, you can't complain, man, we were div B or whatever. Like, no, you're already done. And you already proved if you were underseeded or overseeded or not. So there you go. That's I feel like this is a great tournament format. It's basically like SOS, except in SOS you get the opportunity to play like every team, like you get to play the variety of skill levels, and then you get placed into a group with a bunch of teams that are at your skill level. Here, you just play right off the bat teams that are at your skill level, and then move on to a top cut with still the same teams at your skill level. So that's something we don't have. There is nothing like that. There is nothing like that in the competitive scene right now, which is great. We don't need another double elimination bracket Saturday night at 8 o'clock tournament. We don't need more Div 5 and below only skill cap tournaments. I think we got enough of those to last us the winter. This is a unique concept that gives something for everyone in the entire community to do if the time lines up for your specific time zone. I understand West Coast of North America has like no shot of playing in this. 7 a.m. on a Sunday? Regardless, it was a EU favored time zone. A lot of North American teams still sign up for it anyways, on a Sunday nonetheless. And a lot of teams signed up. How many teams total signed up for this one? If you had, you got some buys here. So let's do 5, 10, 15, 20 in Group A, 6, 12, 18, 24 in Group B, and Group C had 24 as well. Now, that doesn't include, you look through this, a lot of teams did drop, so that doesn't include that. But 24, 48, 68 teams did sign up for this Sunday. Think about that. 68 teams for a Sunday tournament at 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's a lot of teams for a Sunday at that specific time. There is obviously a demand for something like this. And it's probably way better than... This is way better than Fluti. Again, because Fluti is not a tournament anymore. It's your ranking. It has become... We have turned it into a ranking system for this entire tournament, for this entire community. But 68 teams signing up for just a one-day tournament, knowing that you are only going to be playing against people of your same skill level. Now, people are going to argue the issue with this tournament is that, you don't get to play, you don't get to be destroyed by a starburst. So that means this is not a good tournament. Who cares? More teams signed up for this Sunday morning tournament than Cloudburst. Was there any prize for this? I don't think there was any prize for this. So here's an example. All those people who are saying, low-level teams don't sign up for anything. They signed up for this. At this horrible time slot, at this a lengthy tournament too. I think this is why it was so early. They'll sign up for something like this. Case in point. They don't need to be brought in by the allure of being stomped, being the daylights beaten out of them by a Div X team. If it's something they know they're going to be playing against teams at their skill level the entire time, turns out they'll come out and play. Now, does this help the scene grow? It can. What if this was like a bi-weekly kind of thing? And then like the top 4 teams or the teams that make top cut automatically get bumped up to the next div, and the teams that don't make top cut or finish at like the very bottom of their group get knocked down a div or something like that. Now, I know there's probably a gazillion flaws with that statement I just said right there. But that's kind of like what professional soccer in Europe is kind of like. There's different divisions, and if you win your division, you move up, and if you finish at the bottom, you move down. So there's some concepts here that could be played out. I'm more interested in another Fluti season or another Fluti tournament than I am another Ludi season. I honestly am. And I wonder, after people played in this, if they would feel the same way. Let's look at it, because there's a lot of teams I traditionally talk about on the podcast here, and we're trying to branch out the podcast to be talking about more than just low-level teams. Let's take a deep dive into some of the things that happened here. If I could just clear this out real quick. Starting with group, or I guess I should say Div C. And no, before you ask, no, the div you got here isn't going to matter much as far as what your div is concerned for low ink. This is it's your div that you got placed in here determined, much like Ludi, 100% already in your bio. Shut up. It's is already is determined basically by what kind of teams signed up for this, the amount of teams that signed up for this. But if this is the correct button, I haven't used this in a while. Yes, let's look briefly through this tournament because we're already at 1 o'clock Eastern time here. First off, this is Div C, the lowest div here. Demon Hunters and Inkcraft Cult. Look at Inkcraft Cult here. Going 4-1 in this group. Now, against the Oofish, this is a little Squid League team. Inkvaders Alpha, the fact that they got Alpha in there means this could be anything. This could be the actual Inkvader team, or it could be a pickup or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe it could just be the best version of Inkvaders that they possibly have. I guess that's what Alpha means here. But regardless, Demon Hunters win this div, win this group going completely undefeated. This is the team that won Little Squid League without dropping a single game. We're going to talk more about these guys later. Don't know who Delta Force is, but we... hopefully these guys sign up for low ink because they did really well here. Inker Swim going 4-1. That's a good result for them as well in Group B. And Group C, Rising Hope. You would expect Rising Hope to go 5-0 here, right? Am I been overhyping Rising Hope this entire time, or are they really just good? They went 5-0 here. Keeping Vaporwave out of making top cut is that team name. And Heaven's Moonlight, a team that we're kind of familiar with here, actually dropped. Okay, so these -1 mean they dropped, so they didn't actually play. Would have been cool to see them actually play this out, though. I think we're going to see a lot of drops here. What's this? Who is this? Bad Luck Trout? Is that the BLT team I'm hearing so much about? Going 5-0 in this group. Sharks of Ink finishing at the top here as well. BitClam being one of the more notable teams here from Little Squid League that I recall. And they dropped as well. So how did they get a win if they dropped from the very beginning? Did Neo Palm Tree just drop harder than them? I have no idea, but still, Bad Luck Trout going 5-0 in their group. And if you look at the final stage here, of course, it's dominated by Demon Hunters. Wow, this result is surprising. We've been kind of wondering how good is Demon Hunters. Because they went through that low ink or that Little Squid League and did not drop a single game. 4-0 Rising Hope is the eyebrow raiser. It's like, oh, okay, you guys are really good, which raises the question of how good is this BLT team? Because they are the only team in the past 2 tournaments that we've seen Demon Hunters in that have not only threatened to beat Demon Hunters, but even took a game off of them. They took 1 game. Demon Hunters have not lost a single game in Little Squid League and this tournament until grand finals of Fluti Div C, where they played BLT and it went to a game 7. I believe my wife actually watched this one. Brush might have been streaming I haven't personally seen this one, but still, this how good are these two teams for real? That's what we need to know. Both these teams need to sign up for low ink. I think we are going to see BLT because Texture is on this team, and Texture was in help desk asking about it. So I'm pretty sure we'll see BLT, but I want to see Demon Hunters in here. Like, they 4-0'd Rising Hope. This is an alpha bracket team. This is an alpha bracket team. Are they a threat to actually win it? I have no idea. But Delta Force over here as well. Man, if these guys would actually play in low ink, we would have a really interesting low ink coming up here. And BLT getting a 4-0 sweep over them as well. Shout outs to Inkcraft Cult for making Top Cut, Inker Swim as well. Two notable teams. Inkcraft Cult, this is probably I saw them tweeting out that they were pretty good. Oh, BLT was up 3-1. Then you got Haunted, unfortunate, but still nice sets here in Div C as we move on to Div B. Div B is kind of an interesting a mix of teams here. Again, it's just off of who signed up. So what you got is a lot of stronger traditional alpha bracket low ink teams, and the Deep Fried Octolings, who are a low ink champion, going up against some teams that have been banned from low ink and whatnot. Shaker and Lyle, these two teams were number 1 and number 2 in their div, in their group. Seeding wise, they end up going first and second overall in this div. We'll talk more about those two later, but this is a rogues gallery of alpha bracket teams. Mahi, Shiver Me Inklings, the Pirates, the Deep Fried Octolings, and Game Over. The Deep Fried Octolings, again, being a team that won low ink. Going up against Game Over here, who I did play in low ink last month, and I saw that they were recruiting, and I saw their recruitment post was like looking for Div 3 or Div 4 level players, so I don't know who they got and if that person's going to be eligible for the next low ink. But this is a low ink team from last month doing really good here in this bracket, even though it wasn't enough to overcome these stronger Div 4-ish level teams that were in this group here. Centennials won this group by 4-0 and 1. How do you get a tie? What the heck? What happened to this Infinidades versus Centennial 2-2? What does that mean? I have no idea what this means if it's 2-2. Okay, so they just didn't play the fifth game, or maybe they ran out of time or whatever. So there you go. 4-0 and 1 are the Sentinels. But the Sweepy Shields, wow, this is impressive here. Going 4-1 in a group that has teams like this, especially this Infinidots team, which is a really strong team here. So Sweeping Shields went 4-2 last month in low ink, made beta bracket. I believe got eliminated slightly early on Sunday, but still, this Sweepy Shields with a statement advancement out of their group here in Div B. Watch Party, I feel like this isn't the same Watch Party roster that was initially in Div 4 of Fluti last season. I feel like they've revamped their roster and they're a little bit better for it. 5-0 in this group. Paint Plus going 4-1 here. Ink Sync just barely missing Top Cut here. I don't talk about Ink Sync a lot on the podcast. It feels like they sign up for some tournaments, not a whole lot, but it's good to see them still sticking around. This team graduated from SAC in season 0, so they've been around for a long time. So it's good to see them active every now and then. We the People, another one of these awkward 4-0-1 results, and I guess the one came against Ink Illuminatis. Ink Illuminati's a team you would expect here, but this is a group of death. Look at this. You got alpha bracket teams galore here. Ink Illuminati's, Wipeout Punks. Well, they're a beta team, but they're still really strong beta team. Fallen Ink, who's made alpha and top cut in every tournament, and then Syntopia. Did they drop here? They got 2 ties. That looks like a drop situation. They lost to Fallen Ink and then tied. And then got a win here because the other team dropped, and then got another tie. How do you get all these ties? What is going on here? Okay, and then I guess they Okay, so they played Syntopia didn't drop. They just had an awkward run of, they just couldn't get those 5th games in. All right, whatever. Regardless, the final stage here, that Shaker and Liar team pretty much dominated all the way up through here. Not a whole lot of competitive things going on here. Who is Shaker and Liar? Shaker is basically Shark Legends, which finished 2nd place in Div 4 of the World Group, losing to D-Dog in the grand finals of that one. Liar, the players on this was RJ, who I believe was on Hero Fan Club, Pulp, Makari, and Bonito. I don't know. Again, this is another one of those pickup project, new team kind of things. Don't know. Regardless, they did really strong here. Shaker being the more consistent team, that Shark Legends team, that did really well in Div 4 of the actual Lucy season here, coming back and winning Division B. Watch Party taking 4th place over the Sentinels 4-0. Last but certainly not least, Div A, the Div X of the Fluti season that saw twice in it. Look at this, Resilience. Don't sit here tell me that you should be unbanned from Low Link. You're in frickin' Div A, the best of the best here. But as we're looking up at this Group A of this, of course, Bed is in here. Bed, another one of those teams that people could have argued for when I said nobody can touch Starburst and FT Win. People are, well, what about Climb? I don't know. What about Bed? There's a pretty strong team in their own right. Not as strong as those other teams, but going 5-0 here. Healthy Diet Food Groups being another pretty strong, consistent. I don't know if this actual team are a pickup, but we have seen this Healthy Diet Food Group team play a lot before. Assault to Pepper being one of the more notable teams here as well, going to Riptide. Went 3-2, and Twice. I would have loved to see Twice actually play in this because, yeah, they're Div 4, but Twice has improved dramatically from when we last saw them in SAC earlier in this year. But I believe Twice said deuces and dropped out of this. They just signed up just to get that Div rating, like a lot of teams do. The Thieves are back. I thought the Thieves disbanded. Or maybe this is the same team that's come back, or a team that used the same name. Actually, I think it is the same team because I recognize the roster. But good to see them back here, going 5-0 in this group. Reflection going 4-1. Resilience in Port Raccoon. Some other teams here. Resilience and Port Raccoon played against each other. Resilience got the 3-1 win. That's a nice win. Very nice win for Resilience. Even though neither one of these teams made it out of the group stage. Awkward 3-way tie for last place, but these were clearly the best two teams in this group. Bean Tycoon 5-0. Barracuda going 4-1 in this group. If you want to keep for those of you who pop quiz, who is Sanctum? How do you guys all know Sanctum? What is the one thing we are going to think of when we think of Sanctum for the entirety of this team's existence until they either disband or change their name again? It's Dragon Dynasty Wave. It's the incident team from Low Inc. Hey, these guys we don't talk about them a lot, but they have improved a lot since that Low Inc back in March. Arguably more so than Red Sun and Twisted Time, who is now gone to be Paradise, I believe. But they've got doing really well here. Going 3-2 in this group. Obviously missing Top Cut, but Barracuda being a strong team who I believe just disbanded after this tournament, and Bean Tycoon right here. So Sanctum, there they are. Obviously a little too good for Low Inc now from where they are. Lastly, no title in Micklin Heroes. Get out of Group D right here. Corruption. That is not an actual word. And Tukey, I believe Tukey is one of those teams that's consistently making Hammerhead when they play in SOS. But Micklin Heroes has won in SOS recently, going 4-1 in this group. The final stage right here, Bed put everybody to bed. Just flat out dominated. 4-1 Micklin Heroes. Reflection put up a better fight, but then just no title team who beat the Thieves, who ended up taking 4th place. Just couldn't really stand a chance with Bed here. So Bed being the overall ultimate winner of this Fluti tournament. And my sources are telling me that Bed versus Michelin Heroes was actually a really good set. Better than what the 4-1 would indicate. That's fair. You know, a lot of times you look at a result and you think, oh, wow, this 4-0, this no title, this is just not even close. But then you look at the actual stream of it and you're like, oh, wow, no title had the lead in literally all 4 matches and Bed just got a 1-point overtime win. You can't really tell off of that. But consistently you kind of look at these and you kind of think, okay, the right team kind of won here. What happened in the actual set, who knows? But 4-0 looks... This looks like a comfortable tournament win for Bed. So there you go. Like I said, I am more excited personally for another Fluti tournament than an actual Ludi tournament myself. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know what the general public thinks, but just the fact that this is what Ludi is. It's just a tournament. Now, we don't think of Ludi as the tournament. We think of it as this is my rank for the next year. But Fluti is just, here's your seed, go play matches against teams against your other skill level, and have fun with it. This looked like a fun tournament. Again, 68 teams for a Sunday morning in North America, EU favorite time slot, and you got 68 teams for it. What other tournament's getting 68 teams? None. Nothing else is getting 68 teams. Not Cloudburst, nothing else in IPL outside of Low Ink. Like, there's nothing that is getting this amount of teams for a tournament that was announced for what, a week, right? Like, it was announced a week out, and it got that amount of teams. If this was a bi-weekly thing, wow. That's all I'm going to say. Now, they said it was like a kind of space out time between the next Ludi season. So does that mean we're going to get a next Ludi season in a couple of months? Well, first we got to see that soon tweet, and then after that, it's going to be 6 months after that soon tweet. But the head TO for Ludi is spending more time making memes about people that are follically impaired instead of actually focusing on other things. So it could be longer than that. Regardless, Fluti was awesome. I liked it. Didn't get to play in it because I got a player who's on the West Coast and another player that does the Jesus on the Sunday. So couldn't participate in it, but still a lot of teams did, and it looked like a fun time. And that's it. That's enough talking for today. I might highlight that Squid Community Project part and share it on Twitter for other people that are interested in that. But regardless, if you would like to be a part of the podcast in any way, if you want to join my Discord server, which I'm pretty sure Brush is in, feel free to use the links below on Twitch or reach out to me on my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Discord or anchor.fm/Popgun. We're going to raid Kiki for the gazillionth time. Tic Tac 39. Let's go with Tic Tac. Let's try that. Get vaccinated. Please. Wear your mask. Please. Don't die, more importantly. But if you do those other things, it helps make sure that you don't die, or it helps lower the risk of you dying, which is a good thing. I need your views. You can't watch if you're dead.